two, three, four.
Gloria Anzaldúa was a queer Chicana feminist writer, activist, and theorist. She pioneered ideas of intersectionality, feminism, queer theory, cultural theory, and the concept of linguistic terrorism. Linguistic terrorism is an attack to an individual's language and identity.
So, if you really want to hurt me, talk badly about my language. Ethnic identity is twin skin to linguistic identity. I am my language. Until I can take pride in my language, I cannot take pride in myself. Until I can accept as legitimate Chicano Texas Spanish, Tex-Mex, and all other languages I speak, I cannot accept the legitimacy of myself. Until I am free to write bilingually and to switch codes without having always to translate, while I still have to speak English or Spanish when I would rather speak Spanglish, and as long as I have to accommodate the English speakers rather than having them accommodate me, my tongue will be illegitimate. What is your first language? And if any, what other languages do you speak?
My first language was taught to me by my parents, so it was Spanish.
I am Filipina, so my first language was Tagalog.
Spanish.
My first language is English.
Spanish. Some American Sign Language.
Spanish. My first language, Spanish.
Tagalog or Filipino.
Spanish. I speak French. Spanish.
Spanish.
My first language is English. I speak English, and that was my first language. And I do also speak Spanish, but not fluently.
Describe a moment in your life when you experienced linguistic terrorism.
There's many moments like when people like laugh at you because the way you pronounce something, or sometimes and teachers whenever you speak Spanish in the class, they're like speak English because it's America.
There were many instances where it was where I was sort of made fun of for not speaking French, or maybe seen as lesser because I didn't speak French.
When I first started in Honduras, which is what I learned English, some of my friends, when I beginning to learn English, they start laughing at me because they were educated in the bilingual school, and they better speak English than me for sure. And you feel like sad, those kind of stuff that like disappointed, but that instead to feel it down, I feel the courage to show that I can do it like even better or the same kind they do.
In first grade, like whenever I wrote, obviously I wrote really crappy. And like whenever I try to say what I wrote, let's say I wrote like the number 3 and I'd be like tree, and like the kids would laugh at me, and I'd be like, I'm trying to learn, like, you know.
I was born and raised in a small town in a city called Rio Grande City. When I attended preschool there, we were not allowed to speak Spanish at all because we were trying to learn English. But a few friends and I, who knew Spanish as a first language, sometimes it would slip out during class. The punishment for speaking Spanish would be to be brought to the front of the class and hit with a wooden ruler. It was about this big, and it had holes in it, so there was no wind resistance. And for every word of Spanish that we spoke, it would be one slap on the hand.
When learning a new language, were you ever embarrassed in front of a crowd?
Yes, because since I wasn't fluent, I was had a fear of being judged as not speaking correctly in Spanish.
Embarrassed, yes, because it was really hard to make friends in elementary school because I was constantly worried about saying the wrong thing or saying it incorrectly or having an accent when saying something. So yeah, a lot of embarrassing moments.
Embarrassed when I first start speaking. I feel like kind of embarrassed a little bit for many mistakes that I made. You know, because this is a new language. It's like the baby first talking, I think. But right now, like I feel proud because thanks for the this language that I have learned. I can communicate better in this country, which is the first languages to speak is the English, and it makes me a better person in my job also.
Fourth grade, I was like, I was like one of the only Hispanic kids in my class, and it was like, you know, like an English class, like good English, and I didn't know that well the English, and I tried to say like a question, and I never actually asked the question because I felt like, oh, I must sound dumb, like trying to say a word.
In the classroom, or pretty much like within my friends in a small crowd, maybe, yeah, it was pretty embarrassing whenever they have to correct you for certain words you speak.
Not embarrassed, I would say. I would say mostly nervous because I didn't know if they were gonna like laugh if I said something wrong or something. So, yeah.
Have you ever experienced any physical form of linguistic terrorism, such as corporal punishment?
Oh yeah, in school also. Like if you're you speak Tagalog, if the teacher hear you speak Tagalog or something, they will smack your hand.
Not necessarily corporal punishment, but when I was in ninth grade, one of my peers and I had a little discriminatory battle with one another, and we ended up pushing each other, but it wasn't really a fight. It was just like we exchanged words that weren't really comfortable or should be said to someone from another race.
No.
No.
Do you still experience linguistic terrorism?
Yes, I do. There's been times when I speak with people from different Latino cultures, and they end up telling me, like I use a certain word, and they're like, what does that mean? Or no, that's not what it means, this is what it means, just because we're in different cultures. And I feel like, that changes my identity because I have to change my words so that they can understand me.
We're gonna experience it pretty much all our lives because people still are gonna like make fun of how we speak because we weren't born here, so we still have our accent. And yeah, they're still happening in my life.
Oh yeah, um, still I do. Sometimes they will just say that, oh, you have a cute accent, but you know that it's not really a compliment. It's just a way of saying that you're not from here. You're not really, you don't really speak the language or something like that.
Yes, surprisingly at home, because when I go home, my parents encourage me to speak in Tagalog. And if I were to ever speak to them in English, they'd get kind of mad at me and say, oh, no, you need to remember you're Filipina. You need to remember to speak Tagalog. And it's just having this constant awareness of who I'm talking to and what environment I'm in.
Well, today, no, because I've learned how to speak it better.
Do you feel as if linguistic terrorism has evolved in today's society?
Yeah, it has changed big time because nowadays you can talk to anybody, and as long as they can understand what you're saying, they really don't care how you sound at all. As long as you talk to them.
In a little bit, yes, because most teachers nowadays they also speak Spanish, so they understand you more. And when you're trying to learn, they know when you're trying to learn another language is difficult.
And you don't go to a public school, do you?
No, I don't.
So do you feel like that's any different from any normal public school here in Austin?
I really don't think so, because it's the same people. If you go to a public school, you're gonna find the same type of people that go there in the schools, private or charter schools.
Well, it has changed because just people criticize other people just how because they're from another country and they have an accent or something, they make fun of them and it's gonna continue like that because that's how people are, I guess.
Well, now, like, mostly instead of them making fun of you of speaking Spanish or like getting you in trouble for speaking Spanish, they'll ask you like, hey, can you teach me how to say this word in Spanish because I want to learn. So
Yes, since I am connected with social media, I see it evolve all the time.
Yes, with the use of social media, anonymous calls and texts, anonymous accounts, I feel like people have more power and less consequences to deal with.
It has evolved in the way that now there's more bilingual teachers. Schools are more Spanish and English incorporated. It's not just all about the language, like English language.
When I hear the word evolve, I think of something like growing in the same manner. I think it's evolved in the manner of going in an opposite way, because nowadays they teach some students Spanish before they teach them English, and now it's more of a thing or a trend to know another language rather than your native language. So I think it opens up more opportunities present day than it did before.
maybe a little bit because like more Hispanic people are coming in the United States and they're trying to learn.
Yes, I believe it's evolved and I believe it's still very prevalent, but people use humor as a way to excuse racist comments regarding other people's culture and other people's language if it doesn't necessarily fall within the dominant